I finished Resident Evil 3 a couple of days ago. I really enjoyed the game. It was everything I expected and a little more. But I know that wasn't the case for everybody. When the game launched, Resident Evil 3 was met with mixed reviews. A lot of disappointed customers. Most criticism was aimed at two things: Nemesis and the length of the game. I'm not gonna go too in depth about what works and doesn't, but I do wanna point out my experience and general thoughts on the game. The short version is, the game is okay. You have to be crazy to dislike the gameplay and presentation of the game. I haven't played Resident Evil 8 yet, so this is the prettiest Resident Evil I've ever played. And we have some music here, finally. Notoriously from being absent from Evil 2 remake. The sound mixing is horrible though, with Nikolai being the worst example. I can't hear what the hell he's saying. Other characters suffer from this, but to a lesser extent. Overall, the presentation is excellent. I mean, those faces, man, they're real. Okay, Nemesis. Before explaining what's the problem here, let's start with his design. There's something goofy about how he looks compared to the original one. Maybe it's the teeth, the nose. He doesn't look frightening. I honestly don't know what they did to my boy. Considering how great some characters look here, I don't know what's the problem here. Jeez, you're ugly. I've heard people call Nemesis in the remake too scripted compared to the original one. I believe the problem here lies in how small Raccoon City streets are. Gone are some interesting areas like the newspaper offices or the restaurant. They were simple, but provided a new area where potentially Nemesis could ambush you. Now, I do think Nemesis was always a scripted enemy. The life selection system was a fantastic idea at first, especially if you consider the limitations of the development. But they mostly give you two options that barely affect the story. I'll wait for one. Most of the time you choose between fighting Nemesis or escaping, but after a certain point in the game, they're mostly the same. It's a novel idea, however it was as scripted as running from him in Resident Evil 3 Remake. Going back to Raccoon City streets, if they extended the playtime a little more here, maybe like 30 or 40 minutes, people would be sold on the idea of being hunted by Nemesis here, since this is the only area where he actually does. Nemesis in the original goes from a stalker in the first area to a minor inconvenience. His development is fine the first time you play the game, but he starts getting repetitive once you reach the clock tower. Yeah, that clock tower. He goes from clothed Nemesis to I wanna show my nipples Nemesis. Yeah, baby. Finally he gets all beastly. He does have a clear evolution in the original. The remake Nemesis gets burned and then immediately transformed into a big pup. The issue here is once he gets bigger, you know he's not gonna be any more than a boss fight. One more reason to extend the first area if you wanted Nemesis to be a boss after the middle point. But in the end, Nemesis... Nemesises? What's the plural? Nemesis? Both are kinda scripted in some areas and annoying in others. This is kinda hot take cause I know people love this guy, but I prefer Mr. X and everything about him. And talking about him, he's great in the Resident Evil 2 remake. I do like how Nemesis is introduced here like, bam, I'm gonna fuck you up. The length of the game has been heavily discussed, to say the least. The first game was kinda short as hell. Even Resident Evil 2 had 2 hours of scenarios if you knew what you were doing. The meat of the game was Mercenaries mode. Everybody knows that. Pew pew, boom boom, it was very fun. But yeah, Resident Evil 3 remake is kinda on the short side. Again, some areas were removed, particularly the clock tower in Fear Factory. Some enemies are absent, although to be honest, crows weren't a thing in Resident Evil 2 remake. Those weird toad gamma things were repurposed here to varying degrees of effect, I think. It does feel like the game kinda speedran itself. I do not miss the areas cut from the original, however I feel they could have improved what they already had. The hospital and RPD are areas with so much potential, but ultimately are wasted. The original had more puzzles and places to go, nevertheless they were just as short-lived as the areas in the remake. Why so much love for the clock tower, I wonder? I didn't pay full price for this game, so I don't feel exactly cheated. One thing I wanna say about prices, they should justify quality, not necessarily playtime. I prefer a short, sweet game rather than one with tons of boring side quests or an open map with nothing in it. Resident Evil 3 was a game to justify a trilogy on PlayStation. Since the proper third one, called Veronica, was moving away from the Sony console. It was a rushed project in some areas, just like the remake. Funny how things work out. There are some great things about this game. The proper dodge mechanic actually works now, guns feel great. As I said, the Resident Evil engine is awesome and very scalable. You can play this game in almost everything. I love how the game looks. Still, there are some things that bother me and I've not seen anyone talk about them, so let's do it now. First of all, Jill. I get what they wanted here to be a strong protagonist, but sometimes I feel like she acts unnecessarily harsh to other characters. I mean, I know why you must hate Nikolai, but Why the radio line? Carlos is such a nice guy.
I'm also surprised she leaves Rosso like nothing.
Her dialogue is kinda inconsistent with whatever is happening at times. I love Nicole Tompkins' acting, so I assume the script handles her in some ways that aren't entirely faithful to what I was expecting out of her, but that's just my take. Other characters that could be interesting are given almost no time to shine here. The potential for new stories is what kills me. Like that guy Nikolai Schutz, or Marvin,
Or Kendall. It feels like they were going somewhere with him.
yet, alas, same with the areas, they are ignored. I reckon my main criticisms are related to the characters. Oh, I forgot to mention, Carlos. They did an amazing job with his voice, character, and mannerisms. He's so fantastic here that I'm starting to hate. Again, he ends up whatever forgotten Resident Evil characters go, like that island in the middle of nowhere. I wanted one more hour playing as him. He punches people, and boy, he punches hard. Have you tried breaking a CRT monitor with your hand? Resident Evil 3 took me like 5 or 6 hours to finish on hardcore. More or less the same as the original first playthrough. There's some great things here, and if the value of the precision was your problem, the game is usually on sale on Steam. It could have been a bigger interpretation of Resident Evil 3, but it's okay. I had fun, and some criticisms about the game are exaggerated. I haven't played the multiplayer, nor I intend to. They should include the mercenaries, I mean, as a free DLC maybe? I bet just by that people would be happy. Well, now we can talk for hours about how great Carlos is. Let's start by